The NBA and G League draft combines took place over the course of last week, so who broke out? This is Florence Sealing, let's break it down. Let's start off with Serbian big man Tristan Vucevic. Vucevic showed out on the first day of the combine, and he logically shut down everything afterwards. I imagine that his stock saw an instant boost. In his only game, he went for 21 points in 16 minutes on 80% shooting from the field. Vucevic was perfect from three-point land as well, cashing in all three of his trays. This season with Partizan Belgrade in Serbia, he's made about 37% of his triples across all competitions, but on tiny volume. Still, I think he should be able to shoot it from deep down the line. His mechanics and his free throw numbers all point to that. My pitch on Vucevic is that he's massive, skilled, and experienced for someone who's not going to turn 21 until next March. Vucevic is a 7-footer in shoes who's been a pro with high expectations across multiple levels and countries. He has a 9'3" standing reach that was the third highest of anyone at the combine and gives you hope defensively. And then on both ends, he holds a frame that has filled out while still remaining fluid. Come next month, I wouldn't be surprised to hear his name called early in the second round, but whether he comes over to the NBA immediately though is another story. Another prospect who shut it down after the first day of action and whose name should be called early in the second round is Olivier-Maxence Prosper. The Canadian wing stands out as one of the late breakout candidates in this draft cycle so far. First of all, he measured really well at the combine. Omax is around 6'8" in shoes with a 7'1" wingspan and a sturdy 212 pounds. That's great positional size on both ends for him in the NBA as a wing. Then in the in-game portion, he also caught my attention with his athleticism and activity. One thing that was different from his college experience was the ball handling. Prosper showed more flashes at the combine than he did during his past few years, and even though this is just a one-game sample, I really liked how comfortable he looked doing it in an NBA setting with league principles. For me, that's the best part of the combine scrimmages, not just the level of competition, but seeing the differences in tempo, space, etc., because there genuinely is a difference between the college game and the pros. Looking ahead, I'm going to want to see Omax make a step up with his three. This season he shot below 34%, but his touch from elsewhere is generally solid. Ben Shepard solidified his stock in the second round at the NBA Draft Combine. Shepard's skill at the next level is no doubt going to be his three-point shooting. Both his volume and accuracy from deep have been impressive for a minute now. Shepard has put up nearly 200 trays for each of his last 2 seasons. He converted on about 39% on average and on more than 41% this season. He loves getting these threes up, and I love that. In the NBA, his perimeter shooting might become even more extreme since he's going to be featured in a much less focal role than in college. So it's great that Shepard is already a shameless three-point shooter. However, he's not the type to only spot up though. Shepard is fluid putting the ball on the floor a bit, and he's a solid decision maker who plays under control. I don't think you want to ask him to do too much with the ball. For me, he's better off reduced touches and making quick decisions, attacking closeouts, or using a simple ball screen. But overall, Shepard has the shooting gravity and the size and the motor to be effective. He's 6'6", which is fine for a 2-guard, and I thought he competed really well at the combine, even if the Missouri Valley Conference isn't the strongest in college basketball. Going forward, Shepard's finishing is going to have to improve. He's much more coordinated than explosive, and he's not particularly efficient if he has to finish in traffic or create a lot of space for himself. We featured Amari Bailey here in March, and since then, the UCLA guard stock has taken another leap. Today, I'm confident that Bailey will be a late first-round pick, or at most, a very early second-rounder. The NBA game is going to fit him a lot better than college basketball. Like I mentioned during the NCAA tournament, I was waiting to monitor Bailey's potential sophomore season to see if he had ended his freshman year on a hot streak. Now, Amari's not going to be back in Westwood for another year, but I feel so good about what I saw at the Combine that said hot streak was really just him becoming more comfortable and peaking at the right time, I think. One notable adjustment is that Bailey is a good but not a great athlete. His first step is fine, but he does need time to load, and that wasn't often afforded in the compact spaces that college has. It's not just that, Bailey played off Jaime Jaquez and Tiger Campbell a lot, so he wasn't using ball screens as much to get downhill and offset his non-elite burst. At the Combine in his hometown of Chicago, we saw that a lot more, both when it came to scoring, but also facilitating for others. Amari converted on his mid-range jumper. This is very much his go-to shot that he can get off as long as he has a little bit of space. His volume from 3 will need to go up in the NBA. Bailey only took 54 threes in college, but his percentage at 39% and his overall touch are encouraging to an extent. As a playmaker, I think Bailey is bound to get more assists in the NBA than at UCLA, solely through the virtue of having the ball in his hands more and in different ways, but also he's a creative facilitator with a tight, low, and reactive handle. Measurements-wise, Bailey came in at about 6'4", 190 pounds with a 6'7" wingspan. Santa Clara's Brandon Pachachski is a statistical monster who I'm definitely going to have more content on in the future. Pachachski started his college career last year at Illinois. He scored less than 2 points per game there, playing only 4 minutes a night. As a sophomore, he transferred to the West Coast and totally exploded. This season, he averaged almost 20 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists per game. While filling up the box score, Pachachski was really efficient. His 61% true shooting stands out, but it's also how he self-creates everything from everywhere. The Santa Clara guard is a somewhat limited athlete, but he still gets to the rim a lot, and then near the basket, he just has awesome touch. From the mid-range, he can definitely score. Pachachski converted on 43% of his shots there, and then from deep, he put up nearly 6 triples a night, making 43% for the season. At the next level, just as he did in college this year, I expect Pachachski to just be a versatile advantage creator. He's inventive, creative, and tons of fun to watch, making things happen for himself and also his teammates. I'm not sure that he's a pure point guard in the NBA per se, but he's definitely at his best making decisions with the ball in his hands. When next month rolls around, Pachachski really should not fall past the very early second round. Dillon Mitchell's draft story is not a new one. The Texas freshman came into the college game with a ton of expectations as a 5-star recruit out of Montverde. However, he really struggled for consistency with the Longhorns. Mitchell played 38 games, but on limited minutes, and his numbers will not catch your eye at all. About 4 points and 4 rebounds, more assists than turnovers, and more fouls than steals and blocks combined. Mitchell was very efficient, but that's because he was mostly just scoring right at the basket. Nearly half of his makes there were dunks, which gives you an idea of how limited his skill set is. He can do that, rebound strong, and that's about it. Then, the former 5-star recruit is also more of a wing than he is a big. Mitchell measured at a little under 6'7" in socks, and with a decent but not awesome 6'10" wingspan. I trust that he'll be a good defender down the line. Since Mitchell is strong, fluid, and big, I think his frame will fill out well, and then having that 5-star background is going to help him a lot. But even at the Combine, he was pretty hit or miss defensively. And on the other side of the ball, Mitchell really struggled offensively. He was pretty much a non-factor, and in the NBA, I'm pretty sure that would also be the case. That means that the Texas freshman is going to need tons of investment, be it in the G League or just being hidden away for a while at first. However, come draft night, I will still be expecting to hear his name called around the start of the second round. Dylan Jones really burst on the scene as a draft prospect last week in Chicago. It all started at the G League Elite Camp, which is the G's equivalent to the NBA Draft Combine. Jones was one of the best prospects there, so he stayed in Chi-Town and got invited to the overall Draft Combine, where he once again really impressed. The Weber State Junior had already enjoyed a productive season in college, posting about 17 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1.5 steals per game. Jones has been on an upward trajectory every year. This was his least efficient season by far, but there was a much bigger onus on him to create for himself and others. His usage rating really skyrocketed. I see the 21-year-old as a bulky, supersized playmaker. He keeps his handle low and tight for a 230-pounder, so once he gets into the paint, which he can do pretty easily, he's like a wrecking ball. Because of that, he is also more of a below-the-rim finisher, but I'm not too worried about that since he's going to be much more of a role player in the NBA. Jones is more likely going to have to keep toning his body, but being over 6'5" in shoes with a nearly +7 wingspan at over 6'11" is pretty good and funky otherwise. Jones can change direction sharply, create space off the bump, and he generally has a knack for being in the right place. That's why at the Combine, even with other guards on the floor next to him, such as Ricky Council, he was really the one running the point. The 3 is going to be his swing skill looking ahead. He only shot 30% from deep this year, but Jones has really steady touch from in between going back years, and his free throw numbers are pretty encouraging. As of right now, I'd feel comfortable picking Jones starting in the middle of the second round. A potential sleeper from Belgium, Nemanja Kamara, has really boosted his draft stock over the last few months. This rise for the Dayton prospect actually started at the Portsmouth Invitational Tournament in April. Kamara averaged 20 and 11 at the pre-draft camp, continuing to display the improved shooting that he showcased this season with the Flyers. Down the line, I see Kamara as the connective tissue of a team. My main concern right now is that he plays a very college-heavy style of basketball, if that makes sense. Not with his decision-making, which is good, but more so with his slow pace and how many touches he needs. That said, Kamara is a long athlete with big hands who's efficient as a scorer, effective as a rebounder and a playmaker, and capable as a defender. There is one place where Kamara might excel right now, but I'm not sure his process here is always going to translate to the higher level. That is at the rim. He shot nearly 72% at the basket on high volume, nearly half of his total shots were there, but he doesn't take many jumpers, especially from deep, and his three-point improvement this year could still prove to be an outlier. Kamara has historically been a below or way below average three-point shooter in college, and he shot 63% from the free throw line on a sample of 401 attempts. That right there doesn't make me feel great, especially since he's already an older prospect. As always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a comment, and if you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe. Take care, and I'll catch you guys next time.